Hi everybody and welcome to a new MuseMachine episode. I'm Thomas, your host, and today we will take a look at how to install ComfyUI on Windows. Don't worry, there are two ways and I will show you only the one that is, let's say, the easier solution. But if you are an expert and would like to know more details, we can also create a video on how to install it on Linux, for example, or also the second Windows option. But today, let's stick with the easy solution. The good thing is, the installation is kind of straightforward. There are just some requirements you have to fulfill, but don't worry, we will take a look into the requirements. In this very short video, we will have a look what you need to do to be productive using GenAI and all the open source models that are out there. So without further ado, I would say let's go and dive directly into the software. Very well, this is my computer and I have a CUDA compatible graphic cards. In my case, it's a Nvidia 4090 with around 24 GB of VRAM, which is kind of well suited for all common open, for all GenAI open weight models. First of all, we need, of course, the drivers running on our computer. Now, if you have installed Windows already, then mostly everybody installed the drivers properly. For example, also the Nvidia app or some kind of Nvidia drivers. If you don't know how to do it, or if you are not sure whether you have it or not, here on the bottom right, you will see the Nvidia logo. If you open it, you will see the application under System Performance. For example, you see all the specs of your graphic card. Again, I assume now that you have it installed already, because mostly if you have fresh Windows installation or if you install Windows by yourself, Windows identifies all the hardware components and asks you what kind of stuff you would like to have installed. Anyway, if not, I put the link into the description where you can simply download the Nvidia app, and after installing, you have 50% of all the requirements. Because the second part is Git. Now, Git is, if you are a software developer, I think you are quite familiar with that. If you are not a software developer, let me just give you a quick introduction. There's like a web page called, for example, GitHub. Maybe most of you have heard about it, where all the open source software and also other software are being versioned and where people work on that. And also ComfyUI and all the extensions and what have you are, for example, on GitHub, or for example, also on Hugging Face, but we will take a look into this in the future. However, to communicate with GitHub, for example, on a very, let's say, low level, we need to install the Git application. For this, you simply click here to download for the latest version. And if you have it here in your download folder, simply install it, double click and go through it. In my case, it is, I already installed it, so I think it will just make an update. You can simply click through all the default settings. Don't worry, you don't have to worry about all the different stuff if you are not aware of that. For, I would say, 99.9% cases in ComfyUI, all the stuff that is being clicked per default is fine for you. While this is installing, maybe just one word of warning. Let's say today we have end of September 2025. So if you find this video later, maybe half a year later, please remember that this may also already be outdated. So if stuff is not working at all, please let me know. Or if we find that stuff is not working, that we will update it accordingly. Now, this is the official GitHub repository of ComfyUI. There are also some other repositories, but don't worry, this is like the main source you need to install ComfyUI and also update it. Again, if you're not a software developer, don't worry with all the different text and files and so on. The explanation is further down here. Where is it? Yeah, the installation guide for a desktop application, the portable package, and a manual installation. Now for today's video, I would like to skip the last part. We will make an expert video in a future session. And also the portable package is something that we don't really require anymore. It allows you a certain flexibility, let's say, where you can update packages and also do some more stuff inside the code, let's say, but today we will focus simply on the desktop application. And also for this, I will put a link into the description on comfyui.org/download, where we can then download the installation for Windows. Please note, there's also an installation guide for Mac on Apple Silicon M series. It works, yes. I'm not sure about the performance though. So in the future, I will have an M4 computer where I will make some tests and compare with the 4090. So stay tuned and subscribe to the channel to get some updates where I will compare the Nvidia with the Max series. Anyway, let's click on download application. We download here the stuff. Don't be confused of the German text because, well, some stuff here is still in the German language, and we have here the ComfyUI installation setup file. Simply double click on it and a pop-up will show us the installation menu. Yeah, there we are. And it's now simply installing. So in the meantime, I can tell you that, yeah, this is kind of straightforward. There's no like magic involved. Let's say after installing everything, ComfyUI will give us a get started guide. So it was kind of fast. So we can simply click on finish. ComfyUI will boot up. Let's make a large screen and we can get started. Simple 4 steps. We have here our Nvidia card. You see CUDA. Yeah, nice tick. It's green, which means that it's working. So it will work on my graphic card, which is nice because we need the power of my 4090. Enable CPU mode, don't do it because otherwise it's, as it says, it's for really rare edge cases and it's also brutally slow. So let's stick with Nvidia. Next step, let's have a look where we want to install it. From my case, just keep it on the in the default directory. We see the directory already exists. Well, I don't have a lot of data there, basically nothing, so it can be overwritten. I don't have an existing installation guide, and I want to have set up some app settings, automatic updates, I would say so, and anonymous usage metrics. You can take it off. I leave it on because, well, ComfyUI is already open source, and I would suggest to give them something back, for example, error reports and what have you. We can install it. And now what happens here is that the programming language Python is being installed in something called a virtual environment. So the virtual environment is like an encapsulated space where the programming language and all the other requirements are being installed. So don't worry that you will mess up your system or something. No, everything is encapsulated in a single directory. It is pretty fast though, because because I already have it in my cache. So normally it takes some more time. And now welcome to ComfyUI, and let's have a look into the basics of ComfyUI. So a few seconds ago, you already saw some kind of workflow. I just deleted everything to give you a step-by-step guide how to get started with ComfyUI. These are like the very basics. So don't worry, we will create more and more sophisticated tutorials and also an explanation how these things work in the future. But let's get started with something so that you can work on. And I would suggest you go here to templates, and in the templates directory, we have all workflows that are being created or were created by the community, also by the ComfyUI creators. So we have here on the left side different categories, also image, video, audio, and 3D modeling, as well as API calls. Now APIs are like the are models that are running in the cloud, like for example Nano Banana. So you assess the services on the internet in the cloud via ComfyUI. You create the images, download them, and then you can continue doing the magic in ComfyUI. You can do it, but I think the good thing about Comfy is to get things running locally. And for this, we will use the very first image generation workflow that requires us to download a model, namely Stable Diffusion 1.5. Some word of warning, Stable Diffusion 1.5 is already kind of old. So you will not get the top-notch results, but for the sake of this video, let's continue and download this file here. So we have like an error message popping up. We can simply click on download, which is around 2 GB, and it will download everything directly into ComfyUI. Now, while we are doing this, there's like a directory where everything is being stored. We did it when we set up ComfyUI, was asking where we want to store all the settings and what have you. Per default, it's in documents/ComfyUI, and there we have a folder called models. And in the models, we have a lot of different subfolders, where in our case, the model is now being downloaded into checkpoints. Now, it's a temporary file, so it's not there yet, but all files are stored there. And there are like tons of different subdirectories, and you may ask, wait a second, why all the subdirectories? We are just creating images using GenAI. Well, following this tutorial, you will learn and to differentiate between all these different models, why there is a checkpoints folder, what is a control net, diffuser, or the clip, or the VAE model. It's not 100% required if you are creative, but my suggestion is that you can of course learn driving a car without knowing how the car is working. In this case, you are like using Nano Banana or something like that in the cloud. But in our case, it's like a Formula One car where you already also have to know a little bit the background to get the maximum performance out of your car. So I would suggest to also try to at least get the concept and the ideas. Don't worry, we will not go too much into detail, but at least get a feeling what's going on. I would also suggest for now to skip the explanation of the entire flow and what all the different nodes mean, why they are connected, in what way. The most important thing is what we will create, and we will create a beautiful scenery nature glass bottle landscape with some kind of purple galaxy. So if you press the button, you saw it was kind of quick for Stable Diffusion 1.5 with a resolution of 0.5K times 0.5K. Now here's a small image of this. We can also rerun it, and there we have our results. And as I said already, it's not really stunning. It's kind of interesting to see this thing running. Also, you see here on the 4090, this is real time. It's already pretty fast. Now, we will have a look into this in the future, what's out there. We have here also different settings. You can also open new tabs for different workflows. You can also combine templates. We will look into this. And one of the, I wouldn't say most important thing is, but because everything is important in ComfyUI, a very cool thing of the desktop application is here, the ComfyUI Manager. Now, this is something we will need in the future because ComfyUI Manager allows you to download costume extensions that the community created for ComfyUI, because the good thing about ComfyUI is not its modular setup with all the nodes that you combine and connect. No, it is also easy to extend it with more nodes, and we will need it in the future. And I would suggest that you start playing around with the basic workflow so that you get at least some kind of idea what is happening if you change some of these settings. Of course, you will find a lot of material in the internet, but let's stick together and go here step by step. Well, thank you very much for watching our second video here on ComfyUI, how to install it. Now, I would suggest we will also make an installation guide for Linux in the future, but well, from experience, the Linux users are already mostly kind of advanced, so I think they know how to do it, but let's see. If you do not have a high performance Windows computer with a graphic card, don't worry, we will make another installation guide for a cloud service, but in a cloud service, and we are not being paid by them, where you also have a full control of all your costs. So don't worry if you do not have the capacities currently. We will go through this together and we will show you an installation guide how to handle this situation. Until then, happy coding or happy playing around, happy being creative, and thanks for watching, and until next time.